Oh, we are one love. Hear the call. Together we rise. Let compassion enthrone. In the morning light, the sun breaks free. A new day dawns. It's a sight to see. With hearts wide open, we stand as one, living in our truth, like the stars and the sun. From the mountains high to the valley low, we're spreading our wings, letting our spirits flow. In every soul, there's a spark divine, raising up the world. We're truly alive. Oh, we are one love. United we stand, bringing peace to the world. Hand in hand, waking up to nature, releasing all fears, sharing hope and compassion through the laughter and tears.
Good morning. Welcome to our Sunday morning connection. I am so glad that you are here. Today we're in a little different spot. We're here joining you from my living room, actually, and I'm grateful to be with you all. Thankful for each and every one of you. Thank you for being a part of this community. Thank you for choosing this space. You could have been anywhere else today, but you have chosen to be here, and I am grateful for that. We've been in our series. We're saying that this is the year of the great emergence. Many of us are experiencing a variety of different feelings and emotions, and even some commotions around what's occurring in our world. I want to stay on top of current events, but one of the things that I want to do is really set sort of the tone for this year. And I believe that this year is a year of opportunity for us, not just opposition. We're not in trouble, we're in transition. In fact, go ahead and type that into the comments. We are not in trouble, we are in transition. And the truth is that we are being set free moment by moment, day by day, as we choose the higher way of being. The higher way, to me, in my personal opinion, is love, joy, and peace. When we're choosing those vibrations, those frequencies, and we show up frequently to practice those things, love, joy, and peace, we're going to always be upgrading our experience, because when you lift your vibrational frequency and you expand your consciousness, you're always going to attract that vibration back into your life. And so I want to encourage you today to stay encouraged in spite of what you may be feeling right now. Just know that you are not your feelings, you are not your emotions, you are not your thoughts. You are higher than those thoughts. You are the one who can think the thoughts. You're the one who can have beliefs and change those beliefs anytime you get ready. You are a powerful, powerful being. And I want to encourage you. So this month has been a month of encouraging us to not just awaken from the neck up, but to awaken from the neck down as well. Our whole being invited into this. Donna Angelou, who's a wonderful person, a part of our community, a great teacher, very enlightened individual, somebody that I look at as a very balanced and solid person who is able to land in the world of woo-woo and at the same time also have a very grounded approach to life. She made this statement while we were at the Martin Luther King Jr. Parade this last week, talking about how awakening tends to take place most of the time, or at least at the beginning, from the neck up. Our throat chakra gets activated. We start talking about awakening. Our third eye is open. We're starting to see more clearly. And our crown is open, and we're starting to receive what we call downloads. But what tends to happen is it tends to only be here. And until it starts to get into the heart and get into the solar plexus, into the sacral, and into the root chakra, we're not able to have a balanced life, because only 3 of the 7 chakras that are the main chakras, that is, are activated in our life. What we've been talking about this month is how to embody fully what we've already been experiencing in the crown, in the third eye, and with our mouths, with our throat chakra. And we've basically been talking about love, joy, and peace. We've just been doing it in a different way. Last week, we talked about peace, and we talked about how peace is not something we try to have. We can't try to be peaceful. It's about surrender. It's about resting back into it, because it's not a mood. It's not something we can make up. It is something that occurs as we become more and more aware of our true selves. So today I wanted to look at joy as a sign of alignment, but not denial, as we're in this month of arrival. Joy is a sign of alignment, not denial. So let's talk about something that really makes religious people a little nervous. And that's not demons. That's not politics. That's not drum kits in the sanctuary on Sunday. No, joy, because joy really has a way of exposing what we really believe about life. Joy makes many people actually uncomfortable. And I'm not talking about the loud kind of joy, not the performative kind of joy. I'm talking about that quiet joy that shows up in the middle of an uncertainty. How you can be at peace and be in a sense of joy that everything is going to be all right, even in the midst of uncertain times. Sometimes it's very unnerving to people. We're often suspicious of joy when the world feels unstable. Our world is unstable. First Unity Spiritual Campus feels unstable. Our lives feel unstable, and we wonder if it is irresponsible, honestly, to be joyful. We start to think that maybe it's naive, that it's tone deaf, that you're ignoring the obvious. And we ask ourselves, how can I feel joy when there's so much that seems unresolved in our world, so much chaos in our world? So what do? Often we delay joy. We put joy on layaway. We tell ourselves, I'm going to be joyful after the next election, or after we get this guy out of here. I'm going to be joyful after this diagnosis in my body clears. I'll be joyful after the bills are paid. I'll be joyful after my family gets it together. I'll be joyful when the world finally calms down and starts acting the way I want it to act. And let me tell you something. If you're doing that, be careful, because what you're really doing is putting your joy on hold. You're putting it on layaway, and you're saying it's too expensive for this moment, when in fact it's actually free. I came to preach to somebody today that life does not calm down. That's not how life works. Life keeps lifing. It keeps happening. And if you keep waiting on the world to change so that you can have permission, you will die with your joy still in the box. It's a gift, and you will die with it unwrapped and still in the box. So let me tell you the truth today. Joy is not denial. Joy is alignment. It's alignment with a higher truth. Can you say alignment? Maybe type alignment into the comments. Say alignment. I choose alignment. Because if you need to hear this like medicine, some of you need to hear this like medicine, then I'm here to give you a dose of it. Joy is not irresponsibility. Joy is not tone deafness. Joy is not you ignoring pain. Joy is your soul saying, I'm still here. I still belong. I have not been erased. I have not been conquered. I have not been overcome. That is not denial. That is resurrection. And that's resignation back into the truth. It's coming home. It's remembering who you truly are. And the only reason we need to remember it is because something in our life has dismembered it and disconnected us from the truth of our human divinity. Now, I want to look at a few things today that I think are important. Number one, why we were taught to distrust joy. Here's the first thing that I would like to name, okay? Many of us, me included, were trained spiritually, culturally, generationally, to believe that seriousness equals depth, that worry equals care, and that suffering proves that we're paying attention. We were taught that by our culture and even by our spiritual or religious environment. If you worried, you were responsible. If you were anxious, you actually cared. If you were stressed, you were spiritual, or at least religiously aligned. Some of you grew up with a belief system that made joy feel suspicious. So in other words, if you were laughing too hard, you were accused of being too wild. Some people think that Reverend Mickey here is too wild because she's always laughing and enjoying herself. Some people think that Kathy is too wild because she's always enjoying herself. Some people think that Iman may be too loud because Iman, when there's a question that's asked about grateful and what are you grateful for, and tell us some good news, she'll tend to come to, I'm amongst the living. I'm alive. That's what I'm grateful for. That's the good news. Some people think that's too wild. We were taught that if you were enjoying yourself too much, you needed to pray just a little more. If something good happened, you better not act too happy because something bad might be coming right behind it. Don't celebrate too much now because the devil's going to get after you now. So be careful, be mindful. Anybody you know that was programmed that way? That program that says, if I'm not bracing, I'm not safe. The joy and peace are almost too vulnerable. So when joy tries to arrive, our nervous system doesn't say, you're welcome here. It says, what's the catch? What's for real here? What's really happening? I don't want anybody to get anything over on me. When joy knocks on the door, trauma tends to answer. And trauma doesn't know the difference between joy and danger because both require openness. But here's what I want you to hear today. If you don't hear anything else, joy does not disrespect pain. It does not bypass grief. It does not erase compassion. Real joy doesn't minimize the world. Real joy says, I can see the world clearly and still choose aliveness. Depression says, I see the pain and I conclude that there's no goodness. Spiritual bypass says, I ignore the pain and I pretend everything is good. But joy says, I can hold both. I can hold grief and gratitude. I can hold the ache and the awe. I can hold the sadness and still smile. Joy is not denial. Joy is integration. And that is why joy scares systems that are built on fear, because fear wants to make sure your emotional range stays narrow. Fear wants you predictable. Fear wants you manipulative. Yes, that. Able to be manipulated. But joy creates sovereignty. That's a word we don't hear much in a world that wants to control us. I'm going to say that again. Joy creates sovereignty. And when joy rises in a human being, you become harder to control. As I've said to you before, in some ways, joy is a resistance to what's occurring in a world that wants you to be in sorrow, wants you to be afraid, wants you in fight, flight, or freeze. And number two, joy as a nervous system experience. Now listen to this. This is where we go a little deeper in terms of joy. Joy is not a concept or just a concept. Joy is not just a sermon line or a sermon title. Joy is actually a nervous system experience. Joy is what happens when the nervous system, the body, the whole being stops bracing for impact, stops expecting the next shoe to drop. Joy is what happens when the body exhales and says, I can be here without armor. I can be vulnerable. I don't have to have armor. So hear me. Joy is not an emotion that you manufacture, that you just fake and you come up with. But joy is a psychological response to the present moment. Let me say that again, because that right there is a whole theology. You don't have to chase joy. You don't have to force joy or manufacture it. You don't have to fake it. You get to return to it. Joy comes when you arrive in the present moment. Joy comes from coming home to your true self. This is why joy often shows up in small moments: a laugh, a breath, a shared glance, a memory, a piece of music that you just really enjoy. I-N-J-O-Y. But not because those are trivial, but because joy doesn't always announce itself in some kind of a big way. Joy often whispers, right here, in this moment is still holy. This is a sacred and holy moment. right here and right now. And you can't compare your joy to somebody else's joy. Somebody else's joy might look like a vacation. Your joy might look like, I made it through another day and I'm still kind of. I made it through another day and I didn't quit. I didn't numb. I didn't go back to the old version of me. I stayed human. I survived the day. That is also joy. That is alignment. That is arrival. And what I want to say clearly is this: joy is proof that healing is happening, that wholeness is beginning, that it's growing in you to be whole and to be complete, because healing is not just less pain. Healing is more presence. It's not just less injury. It's more integration, more truth. Healing is not merely surviving. Healing is actually enjoying oxygen again, enjoying the breath again. Now, here's why some people push joy away: because there's vulnerability in it. Let's tell the truth. Joy can feel risky because it is unarmored. It doesn't have a shield on. It doesn't hold a sword. To feel joy is to be open. To feel joy is to let life touch you deeply. And many of us learned that openness was dangerous. We were taught that by our life experience. So we keep joy at a distance. We wait for permission to have joy. We tell ourselves that we feel joy. If we feel the joy once again, things may go bad. And we tell ourselves then that means that you can feel joy when everything gets resolved, when everything turns out the way you think it should. But life is always unresolved. Can I say that again so that we can hear that clearly? Because we're telling the truth, right? We're being more and more honest this year, especially in this month of January. Life is never resolved. There will always be something unfinished. That's the nature of growth and creation. There will always be something uncertain. There's going to always be something in process. Joy does not require completion. Joy only requires presence. I know I'm repeating myself multiple times today, and I'm not trying to be too preachy, but these are some nuggets I'd like for us to really feel this today. Joy does not require completion or for something to be resolved. Joy only requires presence. So you don't need to wait for life to get perfect. You let joy be imperfect along with life. You let joy be small. You let joy be quiet. You let joy be simple. You let joy be real. Allow that joy to rise in you. Bring to mind for a moment. Wow, that one snuck up on me. Bring to mind for a moment something small that has brought you a sense of ease or warmth recently. Nothing dramatic. Notice where you feel that in your body for just a moment. Seriously, bring something to mind, someone to mind. You don't have to explain it. You don't need to compare it. There's no need to downplay it, but stay with the sensation for about 10 seconds. And stay there in that trust for just a moment. Feel the sense of joy. Don't manufacture it, just feel it. Was it a smile on a child's face? Was it some kind of quirky thing your fur baby did, your dog or your cat? Was it something that your partner said or did? Feel that for just a moment in your body. Notice where you feel it. And again, don't try to explain it. There's not going to be a test. But stay with that sensation. Maybe 10 seconds longer than you would normally. Just stay with it a moment. And as you stay with that, that is staying in trust. That is the vulnerability of joy. Now, the last thing I would like to cover today is that joy is a revolutionary act. And now this is a strong and maybe a different point of view than what you've been used to. In unstable systems that we currently have, joy is disruptive. And it's not because it ignores reality, but it's because it refuses to be defined by fear alone. Joy refuses to be defined by fear alone. You see, joy reminds the body that it belongs to life, not to panic. I want to remind you today that you belong to life, not to panic. And when people are rooted in quiet joy, they become harder to manipulate. This is one of the reasons it's a revolutionary act, because you're harder to manipulate when you're landing in joy. You respond instead of react. You choose instead of comply. You remain human instead of allowing the inhumanity of what's happening in our life to happen. That is the great emergence. That is what it means to arrive. That is what it means to not just arrive at church, but to arrive in yourself, arrive in your body, arrive in truth, arrive in love, arrive in your liberty and your freedom. Because the system is not just collapsing out there, the system is collapsing in here too. The old world order depended on your disconnection, your numbness. It depended on your fear, your hopelessness. It depended on your division, but something else is rising. I feel this in my bones today. Something else is rising. It's a different frequency. It's a different humanity. It's a different kind of people. It's a people who can see clearly and still laugh. It's a people who can grieve and still dance. It is a people who can name injustice and still choose joy, because joy is not denial. Joy is alignment with a higher truth that we're able to see in the midst of the walking dead and in those who are taking God, the Bible, Jesus, the Bhagavad Gita out of context, whatever their holy writ is, taking it out of context and weaponizing it to harm others. Even in the midst of that, we are choosing joy, because joy is not denial. It is alignment. And we know that a greater day is emerging. We know that in this delivery room called planet Earth, there is birthing forth a new, higher consciousness human. A human race that is rising into our divinity that's been forgotten for generations and millennia. And so that joy is rising on the inside of us. And it is a revolutionary act. So as we close today and this first month together in this land of the great emergence, please let this land maybe gently in your being. Joy is not something that you have to force. It is something that you allow to flow. It is not denial. It is alignment. So let joy be small. In other words, notice the small joyful moments. Let it be honest. Let it be enough. And as you leave today and go about your life, hear this. You have arrived. You are here, still here. And that is a beautiful place to begin. Right here, right now, from this present moment. Pressing out into the world and making an impression on the world through the expression of your divine nature. So know this as we are concluding this month around arrival. Love, joy, peace. Love, peace, joy. Those are our frequencies, and we're allowing those frequencies to not just be head knowledge, but we're inviting them into our whole being and embodying this higher truth. We are arriving into the truth of who we are. And as we arrive fully in our nervous system, resting this consciousness into our nervous system, we are emerging into the truth of our divine nature. So today, remember that joy is revolutionary. It's an act of revolution. It's also an act of evolution. That yes, there's vulnerability in joy, but I am able to drop my armor because there's a higher truth protecting me. Remember that joy as a nervous system experience causes you to be fully integrated. And that ultimately, joy is not about bypassing the pain. It's not about pretending that everything is good. Joy can hold both goodness and badness at the same time. It can hold grief and gratitude. It can hold the ache and the awe. It can hold the sadness and still smile, because joy is why we are here at this time in history. Expressing love, joy, and peace is why we are here at this time in history as it turns into her story. And so you were taught to distrust joy, but I'm telling you that the time has come to change and to trust the truth of your nature. In closing, joy is your soul saying, I'm still here. I still belong. I have not been erased. I have not been conquered. I'm still alive and well, and I'm choosing aliveness as my nature. I'm choosing this as we emerge into this higher truth. I love you, family. Whatever this is becoming, whatever we are becoming in terms of our spiritual community and our spiritual family, what I do know in my soul is that the shift is here. The holy shift is here, and the great emergence is here, and we get to be a part of it as we activate that fully in our awareness. Now go and make it a great day just because you can. Peace.